Elena's day started like any other in the heart of Oak Park, a bustling Chicago suburb where the L train rumbled overhead and the scent of fresh dough wafted from every corner bakery. At 42, Elena Rossi had built Rossi's Pizzeria from a tiny hole in the wall into a neighborhood staple, serving up thin crust pies loaded with mozzarella and memories. It was her lifeline after her husband's sudden death 5 years ago, a place where she poured her grief into perfecting recipes passed down from her nonna. But today was special, Mia's 13th birthday. Elena had closed the pizzeria early to transform it into a party haven, stringing fairy lights across the exposed brick walls, setting out platters of antipasti, and baking a massive tiramisu cake that towered like a sugary skyscraper. Mia, her only child, was the light of Elena's world, bright-eyed and quick-witted with a knack for sketching pizza designs that Elena had started incorporating into the menu. Mia was being groomed to take over the business one day. Elena saw it as her legacy, a way to ensure Mia had roots in this chaotic city. The party guests, neighbors, school friends, pizzeria staff, and family began arriving at dusk, their laughter mingling with the upbeat strains of Italian pop music from the speakers. But when Mia walked through the door, Elena's heart plummeted. Her daughter's left wrist was wrapped in a makeshift bandage, the skin around it swollen and bruised. Mia tried to play it off with a sheepish grin, but Elena knew better. "Mia, tesoro, what happened?" Elena asked, pulling her aside near the wood-fired oven, her voice a mix of concern and steel. "It's nothing, Mom, just twisted it playing around," Mia mumbled, avoiding her mother's gaze. The room buzzed around them, oblivious for now, but Elena's maternal instincts screamed otherwise. She glanced across the pizzeria to where her brother, Marco, lounged against the bar, chatting animatedly with their parents, Giovanni and Rosa. Marco, at 45, was the golden child, always had been. He managed a smaller branch of the family business in the Loop, but his ambition had always outstripped his talent. His son, Luca, a gangly 16-year-old with a perpetual smirk, hovered nearby, fiddling with his phone. The party continued, with kids darting between tables and adults clinking glasses of Chianti. Elena forced a smile as she lit the candles on the cake, the flames flickering in Mia's wide eyes. But as everyone sang happy birthday, Elena couldn't shake the unease. Mia winced slightly when she blew out the candles, her bandaged wrist awkward in the motion. After the cheers died down, Elena cornered her daughter in the back kitchen, away from prying eyes. "Tell me the truth, Mia. Did someone do this to you?" Elena's voice was low, urgent. Mia hesitated, her eyes flicking toward the dining area where Luca was laughing with a group of teens. "It was Luca," she whispered finally, tears welling. He grabbed my arm too hard during that family hike last weekend. Said it was a joke, but it hurt." Elena's blood ran cold. The family hike, a tradition their parents insisted on to keep the bonds strong, had been just a week ago in the nearby forest preserves. Marco had organized it, claiming it was to celebrate Mia's upcoming birthday early. But now, pieces clicked into place. Elena remembered Luca's roughhousing, how he'd tackled Mia playfully near the trails, and Marco's dismissive laugh when Mia complained. "Boys will be boys," he'd said. That night, after the last guest left and Mia was tucked into bed upstairs in their apartment above the pizzeria, Elena paced the empty dining room. The fairy lights cast long shadows, mirroring the doubts swirling in her mind. Why would Luca target Mia? And did Marco know? Elena's relationship with her brother had always been strained. Growing up in a tight-knit Italian-American family, Marco was the one who got the praise, first in school, first to marry, first to give their parents a grandson. Elena, the younger sister, was the workhorse, the one who turned their father's modest deli into a thriving pizzeria after his retirement. But lately, Marco's comments had grown sharper, laced with envy over Elena's success and her plans to pass the business to Mia. Unable to sleep, Elena slipped downstairs to the pizzeria's office, a cramped space filled with invoices and family photos. She booted up the old computer, scrolling through security footage from the exterior cameras. The hike wasn't recorded, but perhaps there were clues from family gatherings here. As she fast-forwarded through clips, her phone buzzed, a late-night text from her best friend, Sophia, who worked as a waitress at the pizzeria. "Saw something weird today. Call me?" Elena dialed immediately. Sophia's voice was hushed on the other end. "Elena, I didn't want to say anything during the party, but last week, after closing, I overheard Marco on the phone in the alley. He was talking to Luca, sounded angry, something about making sure Mia knows her place and the business should be ours. I thought it was just family stuff, but after seeing Mia's wrist..." The words hit Elena like a freight train. She thanked Sophia and hung up, her mind racing. Marco's resentment wasn't new. He'd always hinted that as the eldest son, he deserved more control over the family assets. Their parents, Giovanni and Rosa, doted on him, excusing his failures while criticizing Elena's overprotectiveness with Mia. But this? Instructing his son to hurt her daughter? It felt like a betrayal deeper than blood. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the pizzeria's windows as Elena prepped for the lunch rush. Mia, wrist still tender, helped roll dough, her laughter a balm to Elena's frayed nerves. But the seed of doubt had taken root. Elena decided to dig deeper. She called her cousin, Angelo, who lived nearby and often mediated family disputes. "Have you noticed anything off with Marco?" she asked casually. Angelo sighed. "Elena, you know how he is. Last month at Nana's birthday, he was ranting about how Mia's getting everything, the pizzeria, the recipes, said it's not fair since Luca's older. Your parents just nodded along, like always." Elena's grip tightened on the phone. Favoritism had been the family's undercurrent for years. Giovanni and Rosa, immigrants from Sicily, clung to traditional values where sons inherited the lion's share. Even after their father's deli expanded under Elena's management, they praised Marco's vision for the downtown branch, ignoring its constant losses. Mia, sweet and artistic, was dismissed as too dreamy to handle business, despite her natural flair. That afternoon, as the pizzeria filled with customers, office workers grabbing slices, families sharing calzones, Elena watched Mia charm a table of regulars with her sketches of new pizza toppings. Pride swelled in her chest, but so did protectiveness. She couldn't let this slide. When Marco dropped by unannounced, claiming to check on inventory, Elena pulled him into the office. "What's going on with Luca and Mia?" she demanded, closing the door. Marco leaned back in the chair, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about? Kid's roughhouse. Luca said it was an accident on the hike." "An accident?" Elena's voice rose. "Mia says he grabbed her on purpose, and Sophia overheard you telling him to put her in her place." Marco's face hardened, but he forced a laugh. "Sophia's exaggerating. I was just venting. You know how it is. Mia gets all the attention, the future of the business. Luke is my boy. He deserves a shot too." The admission stung. "Deserves? By hurting my daughter? Marco, this isn't a game. If you or Luca laid a hand on her..." He stood abruptly. "Don't threaten me, Elena. Mom and Dad agree. The business should be split fairly, not all to your precious Mia." He stormed out, leaving Elena shaken. That evening, as she and Mia shared leftover pizza on the apartment couch, Elena broached the subject gently. "Sweetie, tell me more about the hike. Did Uncle Marco say anything?" Mia fidgeted, then nodded. "He told Luca to show me who's boss when we were alone on the trail. Luca twisted my wrist, said it was to teach me not to act like I own everything." Tears pricked Elena's eyes. She hugged Mia close, vowing silently to protect her. But the family web was tangled. Giovanni and Rosa called later that night, their voices tinny over speakerphone. "Elena, Marco says you're overreacting," Rosa chided. "Boys play rough, don't make a mountain out of a molehill." "Dad, it's not rough play. Luca hurt her on purpose," Elena retorted. Giovanni sighed. "Marco's under stress. The downtown branch is struggling. Give him grace. Family first." Their words echoed the lifelong pattern. Marco excused, Elena expected to forgive. But this time it involved Mia. Elena hung up, resolve forming. She needed proof. Over the next few days, Elena turned detective. She reviewed her phone's photos from the hike, spotting one where Luca's grip on Mia's arm looked aggressive, her face twisted in pain. Not definitive, but a start. Sophia provided timestamps from the alley conversation, and Elena matched it to Marco's call logs she'd glimpsed once. Then, a breakthrough. The forest preserve had trail cameras for wildlife monitoring. A quick call to the ranger station, feigning concern over lost items, got her access to footage. There it was, grainy but clear. Luca shoving Mia, twisting her wrist as she cried out, with Marco watching from a distance, nodding approvingly. The video shattered Elena. Her brother, flesh and blood, had orchestrated this to intimidate Mia, to stake his claim on the pizzeria. Jealousy over inheritance had poisoned him. That night, she showed the footage to Sophia over coffee in the closed pizzeria. "What do I do?" Elena whispered. "Confront them. Protect Mia. Report it if you have to," Sophia urged. "You're not alone." Elena nodded, but fear gnawed at her. Tearing the family apart could mean losing her parents' support, potential legal battles over the business. Yet Mia's safety trumped all. The confrontation came at Sunday dinner, a weekly ritual at Giovanni and Rosa's modest bungalow in the suburbs. The table groaned under pasta, meatballs, and tension. Marco arrived with Luca, who avoided Mia's gaze. As dessert was served, cannoli dusted with powdered sugar, Elena stood, phone in hand. "We need to talk about the hike," she said, voice steady. Rosa frowned. "Not now, Elena. Family time." "No, now." Elena played the video on her phone, projecting it onto the TV. The room fell silent as the footage unfolded. Luca's aggression, Mia's pain, Marco's complicit stare. Marco paled. "That's taken out of context. It was just what? Teaching her a lesson?" Elena snapped. "You told Luca to hurt her because you're jealous of Mia inheriting the pizzeria." Luca shifted uncomfortably, mumbling, "Dad said she needed to learn responsibility." Giovanni slammed his fist. "Enough! This is family business. We handle it privately." Rosa teared up. "Elena, think of the shame. What will people say?" But Elena saw red. "Shame? Your grandson hurt my daughter and you worry about gossip? You've always favored Marco, giving him chances, excusing his messes. But this, it's abuse." Marco stood, face flushed. "That's paranoid. The business should be mine anyway. Dad promised." Giovanni hesitated. We thought Marco would lead, but you built it, Elena." The admission hung heavy, but too late. Elena gathered Mia. "We're leaving. And Marco, you're out of the pizzeria. No more access." As they drove home, Mia whispered, "Thanks, Mom." Elena squeezed her hand. "Always, tesoro." But the battle was far from over. Back at the pizzeria, Elena changed the locks and revoked Marco's keys. She called a lawyer friend, preparing for potential fights over ownership. Their parents' deed listed both siblings, but Elena's sweat equity gave her leverage. Days blurred into a whirlwind. Customers noticed the tension. Marco's absence sparked whispers. Sophia stepped up, managing shifts while Elena focused on Mia, enrolling her in self-defense classes to rebuild confidence. Mia's sketches turned therapeutic, designing a new logo for the pizzeria that featured a strong, stylized pie slice. Then the threats began. Marco texted, "You'll regret this. Luca's just a kid. You report him, I'll sue for defamation." Elena ignored it, but anxiety crept in. She confided in Angelo, who revealed more. Marco had been siphoning funds from the downtown branch to fund personal debts, explaining his desperation. One evening, as rain pattered against the pizzeria's windows, Elena sat with Mia, planning changes. "What if we rename it? Make it yours?" Mia's eyes lit. "Mia's Pie Haven?" Elena smiled. "Perfect." But before she could act, a knock echoed. Opening the door, she found Giovanni and Rosa, faces etched with regret. "We need to talk," Giovanni said. They sat in the dimly lit dining room, the scent of garlic lingering. Rosa spoke first. "We were wrong to favor Marco, but please don't report Luca. He's family." Elena shook her head. "Family doesn't hurt each other. I have to protect Mia." Giovanni nodded slowly. "We understand, but if you cut us out—" The words trailed off, leaving Elena torn. Forgiveness or justice? As they left, she watched from the window, heart heavy. The next morning, Elena filed a report with Child Protective Services, detailing the incident with the video as evidence. It was anonymous for now, but the die was cast. Marco's furious call came hours later. "You bitch, you'll destroy us." "You destroyed us," Elena replied, hanging up. With Sophia's help, she ordered the new sign from Mia's Pie Haven, a bold declaration of independence. As workers installed it, neighbors cheered, unaware of the drama but sensing renewal. Mia stood beside her, wrist healing, spirit mending. "It's beautiful, Mom." Elena hugged her. "So are you." Yet shadows lingered. Legal papers arrived from Marco, contesting ownership. Elena's lawyer assured her the case was strong, but the fight would drain resources. Her parents stopped calling, their silence a wound. Weeks passed. The pizzeria, now Mia's Pie Haven, thrived under the new name, with Mia's designs on menus drawing crowds. Sophia became co-manager, teaching Mia the ropes: inventory, customer service, dough tossing. One night after closing, Elena overheard Mia on the phone with a friend. "Yeah, my uncle's jealous, but Mom stood up for me. She's the best." Pride swelled, but so did resolve. The family fracture was painful, but necessary. Then, a breakthrough. CPS contacted Elena. Their investigation found patterns. Luca's school records showed bullying, tied to Marco's influence. They recommended counseling for Luca, restrictions on contact with Mia. Marco's lawsuit faltered when financial discrepancies surfaced, his embezzlement exposed. He backed down, settling for a small buyout. As spring bloomed in Chicago, Elena reflected by the pizzeria's oven, warmth radiating. Mia, now confidently taking orders, symbolized hope. But on Mia's first day back at school post-incident, a note arrived, anonymous, threatening more lessons if Elena didn't share the business. Fear gripped her. Was Marco behind it, or Luca acting alone? Elena called Sophia. "We need to be careful." That evening, installing new cameras, Elena vowed vigilance. The inheritance shadow loomed, but she would fight. The confrontation with Giovanni and Rosa left Elena raw, as if someone had peeled back layers of skin she hadn't realized were still tender. She stood at the window long after their taillights disappeared down the quiet Oak Park street, the new sign for Mia's Pie Haven glowing softly above the awning like a beacon she wasn't entirely sure she deserved. The rain had stopped, leaving the sidewalks slick and reflective under the street lamps. Inside, the pizzeria smelled faintly of oregano and cooling dough, a comforting reminder that life went on even when families fractured. Mia was already asleep upstairs, her sketchbook open on the pillow beside her, pages filled with new pizza designs, swirling galaxies of pepperoni, constellations of fresh basil. Elena climbed the narrow stairs quietly, pausing at the doorway. Her daughter's breathing was even, peaceful in a way it hadn't been since the hike. Elena brushed a strand of dark hair from her forehead and whispered, "We're going to be okay, Tesoro." Downstairs again, she poured herself a small glass of red wine, something robust from the Sangiovese case Marco had once insisted on stocking, and sat at the counter. The lawyer, Carla, had emailed earlier. The ownership deed was technically joint between Elena and Marco, but Elena's years of sole management, capital improvements, and documented sweat equity gave her a strong position. If Marco pushed for partition or sale, it would be ugly, expensive, and public. Worse, Carla warned that Marco might try to paint Alina as the unreasonable sister, alienating the family, especially with Giovanni and Rosa willing to testify on his behalf. Alina stared at the screen until the words blurred. She thought of Nonna Rassi, who would come to America with nothing but a recipe book and a dream of feeding people. Nonna had never cared about who got the bigger slice of the pie. She cared that everyone left the table full. Elena had tried to live that way, sharing profits with Marco even when his branch bled money, inviting the whole family to every holiday, every milestone. But sharing had limits when someone used that openness as a weapon. The next morning dawned gray and damp. Elena woke Mia with pancakes instead of the usual cereal, a small celebration of survival. Mia ate slowly, watching her mother. "You're quiet," Mia said. "Just thinking about the future," Elena replied, "about how this place is going to be yours someday, really yours." Mia's eyes brightened. "With my name on the sign and everything?" "And everything," Elena promised. School drop-off was uneventful, but Elena noticed the way Mia scanned the hallway before stepping out of the car, shoulders slightly hunched. The bruise on her wrist had faded to a sickly yellow, but the memory hadn't. Elena drove back to the pizzeria with a knot in her chest. Sophia was already there, prepping the lunch dough, her usual cheerful energy tempered by concern. "You okay?" Sophia asked, wiping flour from her hands. "No," Elena admitted, "but I'm moving forward anyway." They worked in companionable silence for a while, the rhythm of kneading and stretching dough a kind of meditation. Around noon, the first wave of customers arrived. Construction workers, teachers on lunch break, the usual mix of faces that had kept Rossi's alive through recessions and pandemics. Elena greeted them all, smiling wide, but her eyes kept drifting to the door, half expecting Marco to barge in. He didn't. Instead, a courier arrived with a thick envelope. Elena signed for it with trembling fingers and retreated to the office. Inside were legal documents, a formal demand letter from Marco's attorney requesting immediate access to the books, an accounting of his share of profits since their father's retirement, and a thinly veiled threat to sue for breach of fiduciary duty if Elena continued to exclude him. She read the letter twice, anger rising like steam. Then she called Carla. "File whatever we need to file," Elena said. "Counterclaim for embezzlement if we have the evidence. I'm done playing nice." Carla's voice was calm, professional. "We'll need hard numbers, bank statements, ledgers, anything showing discrepancies in the downtown branch." Elena spent the afternoon digging through old files. By closing time, she had a stack of printouts, missing deposits, unexplained vendor payments, personal charges on the business card. It wasn't ironclad, but it was enough to make Marco sweat. That evening, Mia helped close up, sweeping floors and stacking chairs. When the last customer left, she turned to Elena. "I heard you on the phone with a lawyer," she said quietly. "Are we going to lose the pizzeria?" Elena knelt so they were eye level. "No, sweetheart, we're going to fight for it, and we're going to win." Mia nodded, but her lip trembled. "I don't want Uncle Marco to take it away because of me." Elena pulled her into a fierce hug. "This isn't because of you. This is because he's greedy and scared, and we're stronger than that." They walked home together, hand in hand, past the glowing sign that now read Mia's Pie Haven in elegant gold letters. Neighbors waved, a few stopped to compliment the new name. For the first time in weeks, Elena felt a flicker of hope. The following days settled into a tense routine. Elena opened early, closed late, kept the books meticulous. Sophia took on more shifts, training Mia in small tasks, how to check inventory, how to greet regulars by name. Mia blossomed under the attention, her confidence returning inch by inch. Then came the CPS call. A caseworker named Maria arrived unannounced on a Tuesday afternoon. She was kind but direct, notepad in hand. Elena invited her to the office, away from the lunch crowd. "I've reviewed the report and the video. We've spoken with Luca's school, his pediatrician, and neighbors. There's a pattern of aggressive behavior, and your brother's comments during our interview didn't help his case. Elena's heart thudded. What happens now? Court ordered family counseling for Luca and his parents, supervised visitation restrictions with your daughter until we're satisfied there's no ongoing risk. If Marco refuses, we escalate. Elena exhaled. Thank you. Maria paused at the door. You did the right thing reporting this. A lot of people don't. After Maria left, Elena sank into her chair, tears coming unexpectedly. Relief, exhaustion, grief for the brother she used to know, all of it crashed over her at once. Sophia found her there, handed her a tissue, and sat beside her without speaking. That night, Elena told Mia about the CPS decision. Mia listened solemnly, then hugged her mother tight. I'm glad Luca has to talk to someone, she said. Maybe he'll stop being mean. Maybe, Elena agreed, though she doubted it. The legal battle intensified. Marco's attorney filed a motion to freeze the pizzeria's accounts pending resolution. Elena's lawyer countered with evidence of financial irregularities at the downtown branch. Depositions were scheduled. Elena spent hours preparing statements, reliving every moment of betrayal. Her parents called once, voices strained. We're caught in the middle, Rosa said. Marco's our son, but you're our daughter. Then choose the right side, Elena replied, and hung up. Weeks turned into months. The pizzeria remained busy. Summer brought tourists, outdoor seating, new menu items featuring Mia's designs. The community rallied quietly. Regulars left larger tips, wrote glowing reviews, asked after Mia by name. Word had spread, not in gossip, but in support. People understood family pain. One crisp October evening, after the dinner rush, Elena found Marco waiting outside. He looked thinner, eyes shadowed. Can we talk? He asked. Elena hesitated, then unlocked the door. They sat at a corner table, the dining room empty except for the hum of the refrigerator. I'm dropping the lawsuit, Marco said quietly. I'll take the buyout you offered last month. The downtown branch is failing anyway. Elena studied him. Why now? He rubbed his face. Luca's in counseling. He told the therapist everything, how I pushed him to toughen Mia up, how I said the pizzeria should be his someday. He's angry at me, says I made him the bad guy. Elena felt a pang of pity, quickly smothered. You did. Marco nodded. I know, I was jealous. You built something real. I couldn't, and I took it out on you, on her. Silence stretched between them. I'm sorry, he said finally. I don't expect forgiveness, just let me walk away clean. Elena thought of Nona, of full tables and second chances. She thought of Mia's fading bruises, of the nights her daughter woke crying from nightmares. You can walk away, but you don't get to come back. Not to the pizzeria, not to our lives, not until you've earned it, and that might take years. Marco's shoulders sagged. Fair enough. He signed the settlement papers the next week, funds transferred, keys returned. The downtown branch closed quietly. Marco took a job managing a chain restaurant in the suburbs. Luca continued counseling. Giovanni and Rosa sent occasional cards, birthdays, holidays, but the weekly dinners stopped. The fracture remained. Winter arrived with snow and shorter days. Mia turned 14 in January. The party small and warm. Sophia, a few school friends, the core staff. That ate Mia's favorite margarita pizza and a cake decorated with edible gold stars. Mia blew out the candles, eyes shining. Make a wish, Elena whispered. Mia closed her eyes, then smiled. I already have everything I need. Spring brought renewal. The new sign gleamed brighter against budding trees. Mia started high school, joined the art club, designed a spring menu featuring wild mushroom and truffle pizzas. Customers raved. The pizzeria thrived. Elena watched her daughter grow, taller, sure, unafraid to speak up. She watched Sophia become the aunt figure Mia deserved. She watched the community wrap around them like dough around filling, steady and warm. One quiet Sunday morning, Elena stood at the window overlooking the street. Snow had melted, crocuses pushed through the soil. Mia was downstairs, experimenting with a new sauce recipe, humming softly. Elena thought of the path that had led here, the betrayal, the fight, the letting go. It had cost her parents, her brother, pieces of her past, but it had given her something stronger, a daughter who trusted her completely, a business that was truly theirs, a life built on choice rather than obligation. She walked downstairs, tied on an apron, and joined Mia at the counter. "Teach me your new sauce," Elena said. Mia grinned. "Only if you promise not to change it." "Deal." They worked side by side, shoulders touching, laughter rising with the scent of garlic and tomatoes. Outside, the city hummed on, indifferent and alive. Inside Mia's pie haven, the future felt solid, bright, unbreakable.